I'm going to lay it out in terms of like all the stuff I've learned. Obviously, I'm fairly savvy, been in real estate for a long time, but there's lots that I don't know, and I'm always wanting to learn more. And just networking with fellow people who are flipping land, flipping houses, is where I heard about these strategies. Of course, I did spend a lot of time early on listening to the big time American flippers to kind of get familiar. And I just love the gold nuggets that I get from listening to a guy like Jerry Norton or Pace Morby. I had a guy named Pete Reese on my podcast, which is what started all of my American flipping activities, because he came on and talked about flipping land, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Welcome back to REI Hot Seat. Andrew Hines here for a solo episode. It's been a long time since I did a solo episode. So today I'm going to be talking about a property that we flipped in the wildest way you could flip a property. We owned it for about 20 minutes. I'm guessing. It might have been 10 minutes. But we owned it, we bought it and sold it on the same day. I'm going to dive into how we did that. This happened in Hillsborough County, Florida. Plant City is the place. And if you don't know where that is, that's no problem. It's right near Tampa. And for those of you who followed me for a while, you'll know that I've been, onto the Florida thing for a few years now. And particularly in the flipping side of things, off-market acquisitions for just over a year now. We'll call it like a year and a quarter. And basically what we've done, high level, is we do a lot of marketing. So we do cold calling. We've had up to 6 cold callers working for us full-time, generating leads by just calling lists of houses and vacant land in Florida. And then we also have some other marketing, Facebook leads and such, that's generating leads for us. Well, this lead came in, and if you can see my screen right now, this is a house that we bought. It was a lead that actually came in from a referral from another lead that was a cold call center lead. So we got it from a cold caller. We called them. We got them to agree to sell. We made like very little on that deal. It was just, it was like one of our first double closes we ever did, which I'm going to talk about. What's a double close? It means we closed it, we bought it and sold it on the same day. How the heck can you do that? I'm going to get into that. But anyways, we did the deal with one lady. She was happy about the experience, referred us some relatives of hers, and that's how we got this deal. So looking at my screen here, you can actually see the forest up ahead there. Well, it's like that entire block of land going all the way up to the next road. So 20 acres or so. And that was what was really valuable here. There was a house and a mobile home on it. Those weren't really the valuable parts of it. It's mostly that it's coming with so much prime land. Strawberry fields was what it was currently being used for. And it's developable. It can be subdivided into more properties, sold off. You can have multiple 1-acre sites there. So what happened is we came into the deal, and these people had inherited the property, and it had about 20 years worth of junk on it. And I don't mean to diminish. I call it junk, but I mean just stuff. Just 20 years of stuff. Some of it very valuable. Tractors and trailers and shipping containers and then houses full of stuff. So multiple family members living on this property. And they had inherited the property, although it had been in the family for many years. And they had lived there for many years, but now they finally owned it outright between the siblings. So the challenge there was getting that property listed for sale, taking photos, doing all that was something that they were having trouble on as a family agreeing on. So one of our agents just worked with them, say, hey, we'll make you an offer. We'll give you a down payment to go rent a place somewhere else so that we can clean up the property and we can get it sold for you. So we agreed to a price with them of $725,000. And we had a feeling we might be able to, list it around $1 million and maybe even get around $1 million, but we weren't 100% sure. This is why we did double close, because normally we're looking to buy stuff at 70 cents on the dollar, less whatever we have to put into it. So if we think it's worth, $1 million confidently, we're okay to pay $700. But if we're not sure, if we really just don't know, and this is a unique property, and anytime it's unique, I want to double close. I don't want to risk my capital on something like that. So some of you who followed me have heard me talk about double closes. Here's a real life example we did. So in this one, we didn't want to risk our capital. We didn't know for sure. I mean, for all we knew, we were going to get offers under ask, and that's happened, to us on properties before. Like, the number of double closes we've done is more probably than the properties we've bought in terms of listings at this point, and lots of them haven't sold. And some of them, the listings just expire and, it's like, oh, hey, we tried. We thought we could do it, but, if we're not sure, it's worth a shot. So anyways, we pitched them. We did invest some money. We gave them $4,000 for a rental deposit to move somewhere else. And then we also paid, by the end of it, we paid probably about $10,000 in clearing costs to provide them with dumpsters, bins that they could fill. Like we did probably 7 40-yard bins for that property for disposal, just to give you an idea of how much stuff. And that was not even including demolition, which also happened because the eventual buyer we found didn't want the mobile home that was on the property because it didn't come with any sort of paperwork. So he required that it be removed before he closed. He paid for it. But anyways, like long story, a lot of moving parts in this. And this is why I say land is so much easier than houses because, land you're dealing with, especially in this case, houses, you're dealing with, family members, potentially people who are emotional about the house. And fortunately, a member of our team, Alicia, one of our acquisition managers, dealt with all of it. And then our realtor that was selling the property for us dealt with everything else. So really, Matt and I, my business partner, we didn't have to do too much on this other than, a couple of key conversations. I did have to get involved in a couple of key conversations with the buyer. But anyway, so that's the property. It was probably a process of 2-3 months from when we came in, it came into our existence that, we knew about this property. We negotiated the deal, got it listed, and then we had a 45-day due diligence with the buyer who wanted to do his surveys and his studies and stuff. And I love that, by the way. I love it when buyers spend money when they have my property tied up because it makes them invested in it. They're never getting that money back. So if they walk away from the deal, that's on them. Anyway, so he did go 45 days and then he, tried to renegotiate. And we had a couple of challenges. We couldn't find the paperwork for that one trailer, so the deal kept getting delayed for a number of reasons. Sellers couldn't get their stuff cleaned up fast enough. That caused delay. So we eventually just stepped in and said, okay, we'll provide you workers, and we paid them to help them clear out all their garbage. And it did cost us some money, but I look at it as we could have bought the property and risked $725,000, or we could just risk $10,000 for a deal that we really do believe is going to make us money. And of course it did. So on this particular deal, we ended up netting around $67,000. And I know it sounds like we should have earned more, but when you get into paying realtors on an $875,000 transaction, the realtor fees alone were huge, like 6%. Or 5%, it was something like that. I know the number worked out to 67 being left over at the end. But in Florida, like when we close a deal, we have to pay title insurance, which is about 0.45%. And that's on the buy and the sell. So because our offer to buyers is that we'll pay your closing costs. So we end up paying that, plus a state transfer tax of 0.7%. So it's just like Ontario has a land transfer tax. So we're paying that twice. So even though we're closing the deal twice in one day, we're paying that fee twice. We're paying title insurance twice. We're paying the settlement fee to the title agent twice. And then, miscellaneous doc stamps and stuff. So closing fees on that deal alone were like $13,000. So it really does add up. It's nowhere near as expensive as Ontario or like Toronto, when you figure out the double land transfer tax, but it's still pretty pricey. So you have to build all that in. And then we, of course, spent about $10,000 in just miscellaneous cleaning stuff up. A little bit less than that. It was like maybe 8,700 or something. Just cleaning stuff up, paying people to do the different stuff we needed on the site to get it ready ultimately to be sold to the end buyers. He didn't want to buy a site full of a bunch of junk. I don't blame him. Or what he perceives junk. I don't mean to diminish the sellers. Very nice people. We're glad we were able to help them, and it was a mutual, it was a win-win. So, this is a perfect example of how a double close can work. The funny thing here is if you look down here, we owned this so little for such a short period of time. Our transaction doesn't even show up. We actually bought the property so it was listed for sale for $999. We ended up buying the property on December 13th at let's call it 4:10 p.m. And then I got an email back from our title guy by 4:30. It might have even been less than that. It was like 420 to 430. So it's hilarious that you could own a property so short. And I actually found this out, although it didn't work with our title company, is there are some title companies out there, I've heard, I've never encountered one myself, that will actually fund your purchase of the property on a double close with the end buyer's money. So in this case, we wouldn't have even needed to come up with the 725 as long as the end buyer brought the 875 he was buying it for. So that was enough to give us our piece and give the underlying sellers their sale price. That's not how it worked for us, but I have heard that people have been able to do that. I don't know how that works even legally because these title companies are using trust accounts. So I don't know how they can do that. So if you're planning on doing this, I would suggest you have the money or have access to the money. But one thing that our title company did offer is that they'll actually fund. He has an outside funder for 1%. They would fund our deal here. So it is actually possible to flip properties without ever even having your own money, which is hilarious. So transactionally, they'll fund the whole thing, just like 1%. And I'm sure there's other people out there that'll do that. And why wouldn't, for their sake, I mean, it's pretty much risk-free at that point because, the title agent's just going to close it and then close it again, give the money right back to the lender. So very, very interesting approach. And, it really, I'm going to lay it out in terms of like all the stuff I've learned. Obviously, I'm fairly savvy, been in real estate for a long time, but there's lots that I don't know, and I'm always wanting to learn more. And just networking with fellow people who are flipping land, flipping houses is where I heard about these strategies. Of course, I did spend a lot of time early on listening to the big time American flippers to kind of get familiar. And I just love the gold nuggets that I get from listening to a guy like Jerry Norton or Pace Morby. I had a guy named Pete Reese on my podcast, which is what started all of my American flipping activities, because he came on and talked about flipping land, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And you guys can go back and watch that episode on my podcast. It was like November 2022, I think, or 2023. I just basically, it was November 2023. I just straight up decided as soon as I heard his episode, he was offering a course on how to land flip. So I jumped into that course. I had my assistant take the whole thing, and we rolled out an off-market land acquisition business over the course of the next month or so. And we were understaffed. And now that we I joined forces. I joined forces with Matt Pichet. For those of you who know him, he's a huge online real estate presence. Friend of mine, we'd been going down to Naples, Florida for many years. Both of our families do. And we just kind of became closer friends as a result of that. And we have kids around the same age. And when we joined forces in February 2024, that was when things really got real. And we've spent the last year and a bit really refining systems. We started off with just one cold caller, then two, then 3, 4. We got all the way up to 6, and then we started scaling back and putting some money into other marketing methodologies, including Facebook ads, and really honing that in. And of course, building out our team of acquisition managers, building out our team of support and administration, project management. We have right now, what do we have? 3, 4. We have 4 Filipino workers on our team that are either hourly or salary. We've even brought some on in our acquisitions team, so they're going to be calling back our leads. People with experience calling motivated sellers and negotiating. So that's sort of the next thing we're experimenting with, because we really like the Filipino work ethic. I mean, you get a full 8-hour day from them. They, by far, in terms of our acquisitions managers, the most calls are being made by our Filipino acquisition manager right now, and we're bringing another guy on. And it's been a year of just sort of building out that business. This deal I just showed you was the second last deal we closed in 2024, and then we had one more. It ended up being a profitable year, not hugely, in the ballpark of $100,000, and but it was a proof of concept. We were able to. I mean, I think anytime you can have a new business you roll out, be profitable in its first year, you're winning. But we're of course looking to build on that this year. And it's not to say that things go 100% great, but it's a really cool experience, and it's been a really cool so far that we've been able to do that. And we're of course looking forward to doing what we think we can do next, which is obviously much, much bigger. So I just thought I'd share that for today because, ever since I quit the podcast, I don't do a whole lot of this stuff. So it's a nice change of pace because we're actually moving offices and I'm not able to be here on a normal recording day. So I'm like, hey, why not? Why not do one of these? Gives me a chance to just a nice chance to share with you and tell you what I've been up to. Want to quickly remind you that we're going to get back to our normal programming next week. If you're interested in getting access to private off-market deals in Ontario, then I highly recommend that you join the REI Hot Seat Insiders List, where you will basically be contacted by the Investors Group, which are the team of realtors that are normally on this show, and they will be able to share with you some of those deals. You'll be on the mailing list to get those weekly distributions, as well as get a call and just talk to them about what your goals are and how they can help. This goes for buyers and sellers, but obviously you'll have access to those off-market deals through that list. And if you've made it this far, please share this episode with someone you think it could help and show the channel some love so we can continue to grow it. We've surpassed 1,000 subscribers on REI Hot Seat YouTube, and I have not looked at our Spotify stats, but I'm sure we're moving along there too. We really appreciate everybody's support. Building a new podcast from scratch was not something I ever thought I'd be doing maybe 3 years ago, but this has been a fun show to do and a nice change of pace from what I used to do on the Andrew Hines podcast. So appreciate you. Thank you. We'll see you again next week.